Welcome back, everyone, to the IOA podcast with Dr. Malika. I am your host, and today we are going to be grounding ourselves in the theme, returning to the root. This episode is about what it means to go back, not in a regressive standpoint, but as a remembrance, a reclamation, and a restoration. And so I wanted to start off this episode with what it means to return. And the way I wanted to demonstrate that was by sharing a personal story for me. Returning to the root is not about nostalgia. It's not about just knowing things or reflecting on things. It really is an act of survival and of thriving. For us as Black people, children of the diaspora, the root for us means our ancestry. It's the memory, it's the wisdom that colonization tried to sever. And so I wanted to share this personal reflection to help you understand what it meant for me to return to my root. So back during the pandemic in 2020, when I was working from home and I wasn't on campus because of the campuses being shut down due to COVID. And so during that time, I decided that I wanted to get some answers about my family tree. One of the things I never knew was the identity to my paternal grandfather, and it was something that my father was not aware of, but he always expressed that it was something that he wanted to know. So I decided to use the technology that was available, the DNA services, in order to see if I could get answers to this question, part of my life as far as I could remember. And so unfortunately, I wasn't able to get these answers prior to my dad passing away. He passed in 2017, but it was still something that I needed to answer. There was something there. I needed to be able to know who I was connected to. And also, I wanted to also know my genetic makeup. I wanted to know specifically what country or countries I was derived from when it comes to my roots. And so doing this, I got on 23andMe and a couple of other websites, and I was able to connect to my first cousin once removed, which makes her my father's first cousin. And she asked me just simply why I was on the website, and I told her I was looking for my grandfather. And I expressed to her the information that I had. I knew where my grandmother went to college, the brief time that she was there, where she was from, where my dad was born, and I gave her as much information as I had available to myself. And so when I sent her over the pictures and she looked at the pictures, it was something about my dad's pictures that triggered something for her. And so going back and forth and her trying to share some information that she had within the family on that side, eventually I was able to identify who my grandfather was. I had a name. I found out that my father had 3 additional siblings, that I have cousins and amazing people that I'm connected to. And I got to see that there were things in my dad that, although he did not grow up with his father, no fault to my grandfather, he was not aware of his existence. But the fact that the DNA, the root, was still there. There were things my dad did that I found out my grandfather was in. I'm a member of a Black Greek letter organization. I found out that my grandfather was also a member of a Black Greek letter organization. There's all these different layers of things that were there that I would not know had I not been able to connect to my root. So in addition to finding out my cultural makeup, I was able to find my roots, and that is important. And so in the book, Rooted for Resilience, one of the things I talk about is the idea that we cannot heal if we don't know where we come from. And unfortunately, for many in the diaspora, this is something that we cannot answer. So when we come back after this quick break, we are going to get into talking about the power of the root. And this is going to be a key part of this particular episode, and it's going to be a key part of what I hope you will take away from this lesson on returning to the root. Welcome back, everyone, to the episode, and we are going to get into this next segment talking about the power of roots. And so I want to use this metaphor as a way for us to better dig into and understand how powerful our roots are. Think of a tree. And so one of the things you'll notice with the book, those of you who have it, is that I'm using a lot of metaphors from nature, things that are around us, because they have powerful symbolism related to who we are as people. The most powerful parts aren't what the most powerful parts, the leaves, the branches, the leaves, all of these different things. All of these different things power of that tree are not the real power. The real power is actually underground. The real power is actually underground. But they are what keeps the tree alive. If the roots are not solid, if the roots are not healthy, if the roots are not solid, if the roots are not healthy, die. That tree is going to wither. The tree is nourished with healthy roots. It's able to stand strong. The tree is nourished through whatever storm may come. It's able to stand strong through whatever storm may come. Think about yourself as a tree. That is us. When we ignore yourself as a tree, we dry out. When we honor them, we dry out. And so I want us to think about this in relationship to our day-to-day. And so I want us to think about this in relationship to our day-to-day. Bypass and not water. It's very easy for us the parts of us that are important and not water. One of the reasons parts of us that are important. I used African cosmology. One of the reasons why I used African cosmology from the culture is because they are rooted in resilience from the culture. They honor because they are rooted in the return concept to ourselves. They honor to our roots, the return and nurturing these to things ourselves as a daily to practice. Our roots and some of the things that you may find as a daily practice that are helpful for you to use. Some of the things that you may find may be meditation that are helpful for you to use as another way that you could practice a meditation to your root. Is and maybe cooking foods meditation really is taking time. One of the things that I love about the holidays is present being able moment, to recreate, pay attention to things like that my grandmother shared with me during that time of the year. All the other things that my paternal grandmother was big on exposing the way to different types of being healthy the way so we would have veal and we would have another way that you have all these different types of meat is maybe that were not typical that remind you of home. That you saw one of the things that I love about the holidays during Thanksgiving being able to recreate. And she wanted to share a culture that my grandmother shared so that we could understand that our purview my paternal grandmother was big on exposing us willing to different types of food. So when I cook, although now I'm pescatarian, all some of these things I no longer eat. There are still typical things my childhood that I in our community indulge in at the table that takes me back to Thanksgiving or Christmas. My grandmother's sweet potato pie recipe. And she wanted to share a culture with us, making some of the side dishes that we could understand during that Christmas our purview is only as big, even some of the restaurants that we would eat at with her are ways for me. So when I cook, although now I'm pescatarian, and some of these things I no longer like to. There are still things from the name my childhood that I can still indulge in and talk about back to my root. My grandmother's sweet potato pie recipe. I know making some of the side dishes that she would make a child during Christmas reminds me of her. That grew up even in some of the restaurants that we would eat at with her are ways for me when we start talking about our ancestry and the ancestors. But the reality is, I often honor them constantly. Speak how often do we speak about whether or not our father or our mother or our grandmother would be proud of what we're doing? The guide that they are. That is us honoring those who came before us. And for me, child of the church, that is a big deal. That is probably the most impactful in a religious environment. My father, we often, even though he has start talking about our ancestry for 8 years now, but the reality is, it still doesn't change how honor them constantly. And I constantly speak his name or think about whether or not our father or our mother or our grandmother would be proud of what we're doing. Whatever that is, that is us honoring. You need to figure out what that is because your roots. That is a big deal. You have to continue to tend to them. Person in my life is my father. To water to them, even though he has been gone understand that returning to your root is not about you change how impactful he is. That's not what we're doing. I constantly speak his name. We're rooting ourselves stronger in a way so that when we have to go out into this world, it could be a lot of different ways. This world is not embracing and inviting whatever that is for you as members of the diaspora. You need to figure out what that is because if we're looking within the diaspora, you have to continue to tend even amongst members within. You have to continue to water to them. Conflict and things going on. And you need to understand that returning to your root is not about without you escaping.
It's really, really important.
That's not what we're doing.
We're doing this
We're
so
rooting
that
ourselves
we go
stronger,
out there, we can withstand
so that when we have to go out
going
into
to
this
come
world,
our way,
which
because
let's
our
be
roots
honest,
are strong,
this world is
and the
not
power is
embracing
there.
and inviting
We're
to
going to take a
us
quick break
as
and
members
when we
of the
come back,
diaspora.
we are going to
And
go
if we're looking within the
into
diaspora,
a guided pause.
it is
not
guided
inviting
practice.
even amongst
Be
members
back in
within
just a second.
their
Welcome back to the episode. We are going to begin a guided practice. I'm going to take you through an Aya pause. For those of you who have the book, you are aware what these Aya pauses are for. It is for us to do exactly what it says. It's for us to take a break from the day-to-day, the hustle, the bustle, the rushing that we do, and to sit in a 2 to 3 minute space that allows us to reset. So wherever you are, I want you to pause with me. Place your hand over your heart. Feel it beating. Now imagine roots stretching out beneath you, deep, wide, and steady. These roots connect you to your ancestors, to your people, to all the things around you. Breathe in and breathe out. And breathe out. Now ask yourself quietly, what is the root that you need to return to today? Maybe it's an ancestor's wisdom. Maybe it's a family value. Maybe it's the practice of rest. Whatever that is, let that answer rise in you right now. And as that answer rises in you, I want you to hold it. And then when you're ready, I want you to gently return back to where you are and where you stopped. We're going to fade out now. Take a minute to sit and reflect. And when we come back, we will have some reflection time. Welcome back to the episode. We are going to begin a guided practice. I'm going to take you through an Aya pause. For those of you who have the book, you are aware what these Aya pauses are for. It is for us to do exactly what it says. It's for us to take a break from the day-to-day, the hustle, the bustle, the rushing that we do, and to sit in a 2 to 3 minute space that allows us to reset. So wherever you are, I want you to pause with me. Place your hand over your heart. Feel it beating. Now imagine roots stretching out beneath you, deep, wide, and steady. These roots connect you to your ancestors, to your people, to all the things around you. Breathe in and breathe out. Breathe in and breathe out. And one last time, breathe in and breathe out. Now ask yourself quietly, what is the root that you need to return to today? Maybe it's an ancestor's wisdom. Maybe it's a family value. Maybe it's the practice of rest. Whatever that is, let that answer rise in you right now. And as that answer rises in you, I want you to hold it. And then when you're ready, I want you to gently return back to where you are and where you stopped. We're going to fade out now. Take a minute to sit and reflect. And when we come back, we will have some reflection time. Welcome back, everyone. I hope that you were able to take some time to pause after that last segment, and we're going to get into this next segment, and I wanted to share a story. So after my father passed away, one of the things that we started reflecting on was practices and things that were customs that he did with us throughout our childhood into our adulthood. And one of the things we don't realize was my father was not a one that was going to be in the kitchen when we no longer have that person here with us. But the one thing that he always did was during the holidays activities. He was responsible for cooking we often joked about, and was my father was not a one that was going to be in the kitchen regularly. Was a thing that he always made. But the one thing that he always did was during the holidays, painful for all of us to process the turkey of my father and him not being here. His famous gumbo, the seven of us, was a thing that he always made. And we held on to different things that were important. At first, it was very painful. My youngest brother, to process actually the loss 6 out of 7, my father and him not being upon here. Himself to recreate all of us, my dad's the 7 of us, processed it in different ways. Now, although my oldest brother we held on to different things that were important, make the gumbo. My youngest brother, the one that felt led to have this connection. It
one
was
of the
my younger
things
brother
that he is
who
just wasn't
really good
with
at his
my
cooking.
dad as
And
often
so
when it came
it's
to
something
this
he
particular
likes to
customer
do,
practice,
and he's just really good at it.
For him,
and
was
he took it
something
upon himself
that was
to
a
recreate
memory.
my dad's
It
gumbo
was connecting
recipe.
to his roots.
Now,
and it was
although
a
my
way
oldest
to
brother
not
has
only
actually
honor
helped
my
him
father, but
make
to
the
honor
gumbo
the legacy
he wasn't
that
the
he
one
left
that
with his
felt
children.
led to have this connection.
And the first year
it was
that
my
he did
younger
it,
brother
we
who wasn't
typically
with
had it for
my
New
dad
Year's,
as
like I
often
mentioned.
when
The
it
first
came
year
to
that he
this
did it, he
particular
actually did
customer
it to honor my
practice.
dad's birthday.
But
And
that
for him
connection
was something
that was
not
a
just
memory.
him feeding
It
us,
was connecting
not
to
just
his
us
roots,
reminiscing,
and it was a way to
about my
not
dad's
only
recipe
honor
and the
my
things he
father,
would
but
do.
to honor the legacy
It was us
that he
connecting
left
to
with
our
his
root
children
in a way that
and
I don't
the
think
first
we
year
really
that he
knew
did
we
it,
needed. We
we
knew we needed
typically
something,
had it for
but
New
we
Year's,
didn't
like
know
I
how
mentioned.
much.
The first year that he
we
did it,
needed
he
that.
actually did it to honor
This
my
was a
dad's
way for us to
birthday.
survive,
And that
this
connection
was a way for us to
was
continue
not
to just him
thrive
feeding
in spite
us,
of
not
this
just
loss.
us reminiscing.
And
The other
about
thing
my
that
dad's
I
recipe
found
and the things
was
he would do,
that the way connecting
was
to our
us
root
connecting
might
to
look
our
different
root
in a way
this
that
was
I
my
don't think
brother's
we
way of
really
connecting.
knew we needed.
I used
we
the story at
knew
the
we
beginning
needed
of the
something,
episode
but we
of
didn't
being
know how
able to
much
discover who our
we needed
grandfather
that.
was.
This
That was
a way
my
for
way
us
of
to
connecting
survive.
to my root.
This was a way
Whatever
for us
that might
to
be
continue
for
to
you,
thrive in
you
spite
need to
of this
discover
loss.
what that is.
And it could
The
be
other thing that
playing the
I
music
found was
that you grew up
that
listening
the way
to your loved
connecting
one
to
play.
our root might
It could
look
be a
different.
scripture
This
that was
was my
important
brother's
to
way
your
of
family
connecting.
that you
I
heard your
used the
story
story
at the beginning of the
all the
episode
time.
of being
Whatever
able to
that
discover
may
who our
be,
grandfather was.
find what it
that
is.
was my way
The
of
truth
connecting
of the matter
to
is
my root.
this.
Whatever that might
When
be
one
for
of us
you,
roots,
you
the
need
whole
to discover
community
what that
roots.
is. And
It
so
could
that
be
strengthens
playing the
community.
music
that you
our
grew up
ability
listening
to
to your loved
return
one
back
play. It
to
could be a scripture
our roots is
that
not
was
just
important
personal
to your
it's
family
for the collective
that you heard your
and
grandmother
that was the reason
quote
why
all
when
the
I wrote the
time.
book I
Whatever
talked about
that may
this being
be,
a journey
find
back
what
to
it
collective
is.
healing.
The truth of the matter
Yes,
is this.
I found my roots. I was
When
able
one
to
of us
discover my
roots
grandfather's
the
name.
whole community
I have the
roots.
ability to call
And
his
so
name
that
out.
strengthens
I have
the
the
community.
ability to know who
Our
my uncle
ability
and my
to
aunts
return
are
back
on that side of the family.
to
I have the
our
ability
roots
now
is
to
not
know
just
who my
personal.
cousins
It's
are
not just for
on that
us.
side of the family.
It's for the
But
collective.
with me calling their
and
name,
that was the
it
reason why
strengthens
when
the
I wrote the
collective
book,
in the
I talked
community.
about this being
So
a journey
I want you
back
to do some
collective
personal
healing.
reflection. Yes,
Discover
I
what
found
that
my
is,
roots. I was able
so
to
that
discover
you
my
can continue to
grandfather's
help
name.
and assist
I have
the
the ability to
collective
call his name
being
out.
strengthened and
I have the
strong.
ability. Welcome back, and we are going to get into a call to action. I like to do this on every episode because this is not just about you listening to me, gaining resources and tools. It's about actionables and deliverables and taking this information and doing something with it. So I want to leave you with two invitations for today. First, I want you to take a few moments to journal.
What roots
and this is what
in
I
your
want you to write
life
down. Have you neglected?
What roots in your life
And what would it
have
look
you
like
neglected?
to return to it?
And what would it
What
look
root
like
in your
to
life
return
have
to
you
it?
neglected?
What
And
root
what
in
would
your
it look
life
like
have
to
you
return
neglected?
to it?
I
And
love a
what
good
would it look
journal.
like to return
Anyone that
to
knows
it?
that about me.
I love a good
is
journal.
constantly giving me
Anyone
a
that
new
knows
one
that about
to
me
be able to use.
is constantly
I'm
giving
looking
me a
at
new one
getting
to be
rooted in
able to
resilience
use.
journals. So look out for that.
I'm looking at
coming forward,
getting
but
rooted in
whatever you
resilience
have,
journals. So look out
I
for
want
that.
you to use that
coming
and take
forward,
some
but
time
whatever you
to
have
journal on that
I
prompt.
want you to use
the
that.
second
and take
thing
some
I
time
want you to do
journal on that
is
prompt.
to join the collective.
The second thing
reflection.
I want you to do,
and so the
is
collective
to join the
reflection is by
collective
being a part of this
reflection.
community.
And so
and
the
by
collective
being a part of the
reflection is by
podcast,
being a part of this
share
community,
your story,
and by
share
being
your
a part of
ritual,
the podcast,
share your way
share
of
your
returning,
story,
use
share
the
your
hashtag,
ritual,
share your way of returning,
Way
use the
podcast.
hashtag. I want to be able to see
Way
what it is
podcast.
that you use.
I want
because
to
we
be
can
able to
all
see
learn
what
from
it
one
is
another
that you use,
because our healing
because
is
we
not
can
meant to
all
be done in
learn
silos
from one
or in
another.
isolation.
Because our healing
we
is
are
not
here
meant
to
to be
share.
done in silos
We're not here
or
to
in
gatekeep.
isolation.
We are here to be able to strengthen
We're
one
not
another.
here to gatekeep.
So I
we are
want
here to be
you
able
to remember to
strengthen
share
one
out,
another.
whether it's on
So
Substack.
I want you
If
to
you see the
remember to
episode
share
on
out
YouTube,
whether it's on
leave comments
Substack,
there. But make
if
sure
you see
that
the
you're using the
episode
hashtag
on
on
Spotify.
Podcast,
it has the ability for you
and
to
that
leave
way
comments.
we'll be able to see some of the amazing tools and resources that you have been using.
But make sure that you're using the hashtag.
We will be back in
Podcast,
just a second to close out
and
these
that way
episodes.
we'll be welcome back. And we are going to get into a call to action. I like to do this on every episode because this is not just about you listening to me, gaining resources and tools. It's about actionables and deliverables and taking this information and doing something with it. So I want to leave you with 2 invitations for today. First, I want you to take a few moments to journal. And this is what I want you to write down. What roots in your life have you neglected? And what would it look like to return to it? What root in your life have you neglected? And what would it look like to return to it? I love a good journal. Anyone that knows that about me is constantly giving me a new one to be able to use. I'm looking at getting Rooted in Resilience journals, so look out for that coming forward. But whatever you have, I want you to use that and take some time to journal on that prompt. The second thing I want you to do is to join the collective reflection. And so the collective reflection is by being a part of this community and by being a part of the podcast. Share your story, share your ritual, share your way of returning. Use the hashtag #IaWayPodcast. I want to be able to see what it is that you use because we can all learn from one another because our healing is not meant to be done in silos or in isolation. We are here to share. We are not here to gatekeep. We are here to be able to strengthen one another. So I want you to remember to share out, whether it's on Substack. If you see the episode on YouTube, leave comments there, but make sure that you're using the hashtag #IaWayPodcast. And that way we'll be able to see some of the amazing tools and resources that you have been using that are a way for you to return. Welcome back, everyone. Today we remembered that returning isn't regression, it's restoration. And so returning to the root is to ground ourselves in what has always been there to sustain us. So I want you to remember all the tools that I shared with you for this week. Make sure that you're going back, you're listening to the parts that you may have missed, that you're using the reflection prompts, the Aya pause that's guided through this episode as tools to assist you with returning back to who we are and where we're rooted. Next week, just as a preview, we'll continue with this concept where we'll be talking about community care is self-care. And I don't want you to miss out on that. It's going to be amazing for us to talk about how taking care of the community is a way to take care of us. And I will have some very practical things that I will talk about that are relevant to the times that we're living in currently. So until then, remember to stay rooted, stay whole, and remember that healing is a daily decision.
Before we end, Dr. Malika wants to invite you deeper into this journey. If the reflections and practices here on the Aya Way podcast are resonating with you, she wrote a book that goes even further. It's called Rooted in Resilience, A Journey Toward Collective Healing. This book is more than pages. It's a guide, a companion, and a set of tools to help you ground yourself, honor your story, and find strength in community. Whether you're listening on your commute, journaling at home, or sharing these episodes with loved ones, the book gives you space to dig deeper through exercises, reflections, and wisdom that expands on what we explore together here. You can order Rooted in Resilience today at malikambrown.com. That's malikambrown.com. She'd love for you to walk this healing journey with her, both here in the podcast and through the book.